This is part 2 of the mission, the Zavod Situation, a small project I've been working on. The mission is for 2nd US Infantry Battalion to cross a river and attack a Russian-held weapons factory on the other side. This playthrough is broken into 3 parts, and the links are available in the description. If you haven't seen part 1, it might be useful to watch that first. This is part 2, the crossing, where we will get the entire battalion across the river and get ourselves into position to attack the factory. When we left off, we had secured the western bank of both bridges, the north and the south bridge. We had 1st platoon at the north bridge and 3rd platoon on the south. Our scouts had already crossed over. They are poised to take the radio tower, and the other platoons are getting ready to cross the river. We still had some Russian stragglers on the opposite bank, but generally they were falling back and we're in a good position to get across the river. So we're just going to start loading everybody up, north and south bridge, and then we're going to push those M113s across. Anti-tank platoon. They're just lobbing a few toes over just to be on the safe side. South bridge, anti-tank obstacles. Not going to make it super easy to maneuver armored personnel carriers around, but we'll deal with that when we get there. In the meantime, the scouts, about 3 squads worth, have positioned themselves around the radio tower. Just going to bring up some APCs for them, and then we'll take that objective. First platoon, North Bridge. First 2 APCs are going to cross. We're going to keep the remainder of the platoon back, a few squads, just in case. So here our engineers have arrived, bottom left of the screen there. That's the battalion, 3 platoons of engineers. We're going to hold them back until we get across, and we'll need them for the factory, that's for sure. First platoon, they've crossed over to the east bank, and 2 APCs, and we're just going to start unloading 2 squads, getting a bit of a foothold there. Maybe take hold of some of these leftover dug-in positions from the Russians. This one M113 maybe pushed back a bit too forward. Picking up some fire from that forest in the distance there. A couple of RPGs. These are the APCs from the scout platoon. We're going to move them to the access road, which leads up to the radio tower. They're going to be our support for taking that objective. This platoon just trying to put down some fire on various contacts, mostly from that forest there. And since the opposite bank feels safe enough, we will move the remaining 2 squads over. So that should take care of first platoon having crossed completely. Third platoon, on the other hand, has got 1 APC just crossing the bridge there, South Bridge. And then having to navigate those obstacles. But first we're going to unload a squad. This is second platoon. They've loaded up. They're getting ready to cross the river in the middle of the map. Scouts, 2 APCs moving up the access road to the radio tower. This platoon at the North Bridge, just fighting their way in. Got most of the first platoon over, so their 3 remaining APCs are going to support them as we move the squads over and then start tilting south towards the factory. North Bridge, and there you can see the last 2 squads crossing, and like I said, we're just going to tilt south towards the factory now. Take 1 or 2 casualties, nothing serious yet. And these are the last few elements of first platoon crossing the North Bridge. Now for the radio tower. So this is the eastern side. 2 APCs are going to come up. They're going to provide cover fire, and then the scouts are going to move in from the western side. But it seems those trees were not quite as dense as I thought. That is a Russian AT weapon, and that's 1 M113 eliminated. But the scouts, through all that chaos, do manage to make their move. You also spot that Shilka right from the beginning of this mission. It's obviously retreated into the forest there and is quite afraid of M113s. South Bridge, and 1 or 2 squads in position. They've crossed successfully. First platoon, having secured the bridge there, they're going to move up to the railroad, start engaging contacts across that. Just repositioning their 3 remaining APCs. Fight for the radio tower continues. There's still one APC left, and the scouts are making a push for the two buildings. That M113 is just going to keep engaging that Shvelka. I don't know if 50 cal is going to be enough for this job. But the radio tower is secured, so that's secondary objective 1 out of the way. Third platoon is going to keep pushing across the south bridge. We just want to keep staying. Just bringing up the engineers, don't want them falling too far behind when I need to call on them. Second platoon in the meantime is crossing the river, and they'll follow up where the scouts left off. They'll be our central thrust. First platoon to the north of the map nicely secured themselves, so we're just going to temporarily hold there while we get third platoon across the south bridge. Now that the radio tower is secured, we'll load up the scouts and move them on. Engineers are in the bottom left of the screen there, and you can see how we're slowly and systematically pushing third platoon over the bridge. The scouts are getting ready to move out, and that happens. So that's the scouts suffering some serious losses there. Apart from one or two M113s and maybe one or two squads, that makes the scouts semi-combat ineffective at this point. I think they've done their job. They've taken a tower after all. Add insult to injury, that's another scout M901 being disabled with the entire crew. You can see the other one falling back there and popping smoke. So first platoon have nicely established their bridgehead to the north. They are just going to regroup and then systematically start moving towards the factory. All this while third platoon is just going to keep crossing. We do lose one or two additional threes. All power for the cause. The crossing of the South Bridge continues. This is the anti-tank platoon. So we've got third platoon across, and the anti-tank platoon is up next. And as expected, just on the other side of that bridge, we've got the forest just to the north. Various Russian infantry being engaged here by 3rd Platoon. Always trying to move the engineers, keeping them close. We don't want them to fall behind. Everything moving along nicely. there is a bit of a traffic jam on that main road up to the South Bridge. It's causing a little bit of a delay there, to be honest. The only remaining scout observer, he's moved through the forest, and he's the first one to get eyes on essentially the gatehouse to the factory. And his first task, of course, is to call in some mortars. We'll start with that railroad bridge there. Get a few in.
We need some indirect.
South Bridge to the top there. First platoon just in the bottom of the screen there. They're going to slowly start making a move along the railroad tracks towards the factory. Our little traffic jam across the South Bridge. It was a bit tedious, that's for sure. One of the M113s there have decided to just cross the river. Might be easier than crossing the bridge. Anti-tank platoon will lead the charge from the south. And here we have second platoon in the middle, who are just moving up. Got a little bit more artillery left. This is the observer from 1st Platoon. They're going to hit the north side of the railroad tracks. We've got a few contacts there and what looks like some dug-in positions.
Requesting fire mission up.
Remaining BTR. Trying to hide there, but the anti-tank platoon deals with it quite effectively. Now the factory. Starting to look at what we have to deal with. There's the factory. First up will be the guardhouse. We've got the rail yard and the office building. Lots of small secondary objectives.
Target number Sierra Tango 256, over.
Hit man forward, send it, over.
Anti-tank platoon slowly advancing towards the gatehouse to the factory. They run into a bit of an ambush. In the meantime, second platoon have moved on to the edge of the forest. They're dismounting and they're going to move forward and see if we can get some eyes on the factory.
Target number Sierra Tango 256, over.
This platoon is going to continue their advance along the railroad tracks. Their job is going to be an assault from the north. First few artillery shells are hitting that railroad bridge. But we're not going to stop there. There's still a few artillery shells left. So we're going to call those in just in general on the factory as well.
We need some indirect.
Anti-tank platoon repositioning themselves to deal with that ambush. Not exactly right, but those can deal with infantry as well. Second platoon have run into a bit of resistance in the forest. This platoon, they've got 2 remaining M113s, but they just push south towards the factory. First platoon just trying to collect their squad leader and observer. But they lose their M113 right there. You can see that first platoon is advancing nicely towards the factory. We're on the other side of the south bridge. It's a massive traffic jam. View from the factory guardhouse looking west towards the tree line. This is second platoon getting eyes on towards the factory. While we wait for the traffic jam to resolve itself in the south, we're just going to keep putting artillery into the factory. I'm becoming aware of the fact that I might have allowed too little time for this. The first platoon of the engineers that has managed to cross, I'm going to rush them forward. This is the anti-tank platoon. This is one less M901 in the anti-tank platoon. Second platoon have nicely positioned themselves on the hill overlooking the guardhouse. They're slowly engaging Russians in the distance. You can see first platoon engineers on the right hand side. Their job is going to be to push across those plantations there and then cut north and attack the factory from the south. So here they're just
Splash out.
Fire for effect, later.
pushing all elements essentially straight towards the factory. You can see contacts popping up on the fringes of the map. I'm just going to ignore those for now. Time is not on our side. We're going to have to be a bit aggressive about this. Here's moving forward. We're just going to do a bit of a bounding overwatch, move the infantry squads, and follow them up with the M113s. There is the odd BTR poking its head out. It's in the distance across the swamp. And this is the M901 that spotted it. Rounds of artillery just falling all over the factory. If we're lucky, we can soften them up a bit. At least it looks like the traffic jam is slowly easing. You can see the engineers coming up, the remainder of them anyway. This is the second engineering platoon unloading. They're going to focus the attack from the south onto the factory. We're just going to keep moving them up. This platoon are poised to commence their assault from the north. There you have it, part 2 of the Zavod Situation. Everything is now in place to move onto the factory complex itself. Link to part 3 in the description, including a link to download this mission if you'd like to give it a go.